Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I love seeing newer agents on here because while this is, farming and learning about farming and how to do that is helpful for all agents. If you're newer to the business or in your first year or two, this is especially helpful. You guys probably learned what farming is. I know that whenever I was taking my real estate exam, like the 3 prerequisite courses, farming was discussed in there. And it was basically like an area of like houses that you kind of like nurture. If you've ever like been sent mailers and like things like that, that might be like part of a farm. And I'm sure Joanna and Alonzo, you guys can explain that a little bit better than I can. But basically, when you're farming and you're nurturing a certain area, when someone wants to list, or maybe they have like a son or daughter that wants to buy in the area or whatever, and you're the agent that's top of mind, all of your farming efforts transact as SOI clients. So that's to me a pretty good incentive to really nurture your farm and learn how to do that and do it in an effective way. And part of the way that you do that is tools that Title provides. So this is Joanna and Alonzo. You guys have probably seen them on a training before or in the office before, but they're from Ticor Title. They're going to go over some farming resources for you. And I would highly encourage you guys to really tap into this. It's not something that will take a ton of time out of your business day to day, especially if you have a plan in place. They have some really cool tools and resources that I've used before when I was actively working as an agent. So Joanna, Alonzo, I'm going to let you guys take the reins here.
Okay, great. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Joanna. This is Alonzo. We have another partner, Michelle, who could not be with us this morning, but I've put all of our contact information in the chat. So please add us to your phones. Mine is just an email because that's the quickest way to get a hold of me. It's the best way to send requests because it's usually data driven and I have all the information I need. But my signature line also will have a cell phone number. Alonzo is our title master. So any questions you have, he is your best resource on our team. Obviously, Michelle and I can also help, but that's kind of his star point, I would say, is his experience in the business. He was also a real estate agent for 20 years prior?
I was a realtor for about 22 years. I've been in title now for 30 years. And so there are no ridiculous questions. Yeah. If you have a question, you can always contact me. Joanna will put our contact information in there. But I'm a big believer in farming, and Joanna's going to go over some of the farming tools, but the geographical farming still works. You pick an area, and we can always talk about those areas that you're considering doing because we're looking for turnover. We're looking for how long, say, the owners have been on the property. So we can kind of do some demographic farming. And it just depends on what you want to do. If you want to door knock, if you want to mail, I believe in both. But I also know that, this is a good time to start planting seeds and get your farming in order. So Joanna's going to talk about some of our farming tools that we have. And at any point, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, just interrupt us. And then just to finish my little introduction, Michelle is our systems girl. So she's really good about offering different systems for success, we like to say. So, different avenues to kind of hold yourself accountable as well as you're, working through your real estate journey. So I think at the end, we'll probably talk about Ticor Agent, which is a great tool for your for net
closing
sheets.
app.
It's a closing app. So while you're actually speaking to people, it's information at your fingertips. So we'll touch on that at the end. And I guess I'll just jump right into farming. So I think the number one question I get is, well, where do I find the most likely to sell? And what's the magic number? So, I don't love the term most likely to sell, but there are definitely ways to target homeowners in neighborhoods that maybe are more inclined to sell or more inclined to have a conversation about selling. And that can be targeted a lot through demographics, like Alonzo mentioned. So one thing I think to think about is when you're picking an area, maybe you stay away from an area that's centralized around an elementary school, because a lot of those homeowners are going to have young kids. They're probably not thinking about moving anytime soon. Empty nesters is something to consider. Large square footage, large number of bedrooms. One of our tools does have an empty nester filter to kind of isolate. It's 30 plus years ownership. So most likely those kids are out of the house, and there's a lot of empty space for those homeowners. Another thing, we always say age. It's not the most happy thing to think about, but you have consistent turnover with older homeowners. They're going into assisted living, or as Alonzo likes to say, they're going to see the good Lord, moving in with family, things like that. So, that's also something to consider is your age. I'm just checking my notes here so I don't get off track. And then turnover. I know I get a lot of, especially from newer agents, like, hey, how do I find neighborhoods with high turnover? Well, turnover is completely relative. If you've got 100 homes with a 10% turnover rate, it's a very small pocket. But if you have 300 homes and you have a 2% turnover rate, it's almost kind of equal because you have a larger amount of homes. So, it's something to consider, but I don't think that it 100% should direct where you're picking your farm. I think when you're thinking about where do I want to farm, location is key. You want to be that specialist. So, you might not farm directly in your neighborhood if let's say you own a home in Shadow Ridge, but maybe you pick a couple other pockets of Shadow Ridge because it's close by. You're not driving miles and miles every day. You can easily walk it. You can be that specialist. You can know the schools, police, fire, HOA, community facilities. A lot of communities have pools and tennis courts and things like that. Does the community have a Facebook page? Can you join it? Can you create a community Facebook page? That's another kind of avenue to reach homeowners. And so again, my point there is just being a specialist of whatever area that you choose to target. Magic number, I like 250, but anything over 300 is just probably not going to be manageable, because it's all about follow-up. So if you're doing mail marketing, it's about commitment, because it's going to take more than one postcard. We also have agents who they send out a just sold listing. They don't get any phone calls. And then they're like, well, I didn't get anything. Well, one touch is, if you get a call off of one touch, then, you have a little favor on that mailer, but it takes a lot of commitment. Core fact, if you do any of their mail marketing trainings, their number one thing is they say seven's the magic number. So with mailing, it comes down to your budget. What can you commit to? Maybe you're doing a bi-monthly mailer, maybe you're doing a quarterly mailer. And then how are you filling in between those mailers? One thing I like to do is, let's say I provide a farm for your mailer. I go back in, I'm going to reverse search all the mailing addresses for phone numbers. I get about 30%, but I do the mailing addresses. So I'm targeting absentee owners. That's another thing to think about. Okay, I've got 300 homes. How can I pull out a micro farm out of that? Oh, I'm going to hit all the absentee owners and market that way. So maybe that's a different mailer, but it's cutting your costs down a little bit because you're maybe doing like 40% of the farm. Hopefully that I'm making sense on all of that.
And if you're gonna do absentee owners, it's really important that you get very educated and versed in 1031 exchanges, which we can help you with, because that's what a homeowner that's not living there, or an absentee owner is going to want to know, like, well, can I exchange into a property in Tennessee? Can I exchange property in Nevada? Yes, you can. We have a few exchange accommodators that we can set you up with. But as long as you're very versed in it and comfortable in it, you'll be able to guide that potential absentee owner into possibly selling and saying, hey, I want to move. I've got a lot of equity. I want to move it into a 16-unit building in Nevada, or a 10-unit building up in Los Angeles. So we can help you with that. And I want to touch on the budgeting. It's important that you have your business plan, and we can sit down with you on an individual basis, kind of go over what your budget is. But like Joanna said, we have data and phone numbers, which are inexpensive. And we have scripts, and I'm sure that Ashley and Sari have scripts that can help you with cold calling. If not, we can do that also with you. But we have the scripts and we have the data if you just need to get started on, say, farming. And I always look at farming as bread and butter. Find your bread and butter area. And a bread and butter area is probably 700,000. I mean, when I was selling real estate, it was 150,000. Now it's up to 700, your average sales price. So there's some pockets in Oceanside, Vista, San Marcos, Escondido, anywhere. We have information for Riverside. We have data that we can give to you that can educate a seller. We have those Altos reports.
Yes.
So if you're farming, say you've got your sphere of influence, your friends saying, hey, let me send you what's going on in your zip code. It'll kind of give you a trend of what's happening in real estate. We've got all those reports for you for free that you can provide your friends and your clients, your sphere of influence. So that's something that you can touch on and get started on, and letting people know. I always say, when you first start into real estate, all your friends need to know you have a real estate license, and you can help them with either buying or selling, and provide them with reports and data. And at the end, I'll tell you about that closing cost app, because you're going to want that app. It's a bargain. It's right on the spot. We'll talk about that later. She'll go into now the different resources that we have that you want to have to get started, and you can pull up your information 24/7.
Yeah, so just to kind of wrap up where I was going with the numbers is filling in that time in between your mailing. So let's say you're only budgeted to do maybe a quarterly mailer. Okay, how are you reaching those people in that farm consistently for 6 months? And then after that 6 months, let me revisit and see what I'm doing, what's working, what's getting traction. You may still not have pulled a listing, but maybe now you've added 25 people to your sphere of influence, and they're thinking about selling in the next 6 months. Because it really isn't, are you ready to sell now? The conversation is, are you thinking about doing anything in real estate in the next 2 years? That's really what your kind of mindset has to be. Of course, you want a listing now. I'm sure you need to pay bills and all of that stuff, but it's a little bit of a long game. So doing the cold calling in between, hey, did you get my mailer? And having a conversation there. Like Alonzo said, we have scripts, especially like absentee, or, even the MLS, if you're working expired listings, there's a script for pretty much everything. And then maybe you're accessing the Altos reports. Hopefully you guys are familiar with that by now. If not,
We can do
I'm sure
another
it's
workshop
part of
on
your
that.
training.
Yeah.
You got a one pager right there that you can mail out there. You don't even have to pay for a piece. You're just paying for postage. Or maybe you're walking the neighborhood and you're leaving it in the mailbox, or if they have a door that you can slip it in with your business card. The other side of farming is you're branding yourself. Like, hey, they don't need to know you're 100% new agent, but they need to know that you're the specialist in this neighborhood. So when they're thinking about selling, they should be calling you. You want to be on the forefront of their mind. And it takes commitment. I've worked with agents who every 3 months they're asking me for new farm data in a different zip code. They're all over the map, and they're never able to get any traction or have any accountability on what they're doing and what's working. So think about, like, okay, where can I commit? Where do I want to commit? Can I live with this farm for at least 6 months? And it's a little bit of everything as far as picking it. It's not just one thing that should direct you, like turnover, or sales price. A lot of people are like, I only want to do high end. Well, the high end market, if you look at any of our Altos reports is your longest days on market. So you're not really, you might get one big deal, but you want to also search for, like he said, the bread and butter in there. So hopefully there was some good tips in there to kind of get your wheels turning. We are always available after the fact to have a one-on-one conversation. I think that's very beneficial, especially for the new agents. Alonzo and Michelle would love to sit down with you. Just keep that in mind. And then I will get into the tools really quick. So Title Toolbox is my favorite tool for agents. If you guys want to be really hands-on with your own farming, it's super user-friendly. There's a mobile app, which is really best for pulling property profiles. So let's say you're like doing door knocking and you want to know who the owner is, how long have they owned, you can pull up a property profile on your phone. And also too, you can search for a phone number and an email right on the app. Or obviously on the desktop version. It's 5 cents for a phone number, 7 cents if they pull the email. So you've got data at your fingertips. I like Title Toolbox as well, because I think for newer agents, as you're like, okay, how do I fill my days? So let's say you've picked a neighborhood and you've got 250 homes. You can go into that farm. You can click they have a next seller filter, which is just based on recent sales. So they're taking all the recent sales in that neighborhood, getting an average number, and they're plus or minusing 1 year and then giving you a list. So 200 homes, you may get, 8 next sellers. Pull those phone numbers, boom, you've got 8 people to call, or, you might get 6 out of 8, whatever, but you've got something to do that day. These are people that may be more inclined to sell in that neighborhood because of their length of ownership. They also have what I mentioned, the empty nester lead, which is 30 years, 3+ bedrooms. So, they're going to pull those out for you, and then you can get the phone number right away and, have a to-do list, have a daily task for that day. So if I will send a follow-up email to everybody tomorrow when I get your names, and then I will have a link for Title Toolbox, and then you can reach out to me direct. I just recommend doing a one-on-one with me is going to be the most valuable to get you guys using that tool. If you're not hands-on and you just want the data, then you just email me. My email is the first one on the chat, and I can farm for you real quick. I'm usually, same day, 24 hours, depending on what time of day I get your request. So we are really here to help you as much as hands-on you want to be, or as much as you need us to kind of, provide it for you. We are here to tailor-made our service to what you need. It's kind of where I'm going.
I want to add one little nugget, a farming nugget for all of you to think about. So if I were starting off again in the business, I would be looking at attached properties. When I mean attached are condos, townhouses, but say you find a condo project, and the thing that you want to do is, if you say you find, attached homes that are under 700,000, somewhere between say 4 and 700,000. What I would do is, you have a lender, I'm sure over at the office, that you can hook up with. You find these complexes, and one of the things I would really strongly consider is, are these complexes VA approved for VA loans? Are they approved for FHA? Because what you're doing is you're opening the door to more buyers, and more buyers, chances are you're going to get an offer, be it VA, FHA. A couple of years ago, a lot of sellers wouldn't even look at VA and FHA offers. Now they're like, bring me an offer. So that's something, if you're working entry level, there's a lot of complexes throughout North County, Carlsbad, Oceanside, Vista, Escondido, San Marcos, that are attached, and you hook up with a good lender, your lender, and you say, I need to know if this is FHA approved, and they will take you through that process. If it is, that's something I would consider farming, because that means that there are more potential buyers for that property. So just a nugget, besides getting the data and the phone numbers, because when we look at the Altos report, which you do have, and we can do a separate kind of one-on-one on that, it'll give you attached, what's selling attached, and what's selling detached. When it's detached, you don't have to worry. FHA, VA, it'll you can buy a home, FHA, detached home. Attached, if it's in a complex, the building has to be approved. So that's something that you can get a jump on and become, say, the area specialist in that complex. And, maybe dominate, because people like to move out of those complexes into, say, a bigger unit. They're having families, it's getting too small. So there's some turnover in those buildings. And I know there's a couple of complexes over in Oceanside by San Luis Rey Mission. There's some in San Marcos, and there's some, I know, in Escondido, and some in Carlsbad. So something to consider, the attached market for farming. Okay. And then you've got anything else to add on?
I think, like I said, Title Toolbox is a great tool for you guys. And I think you guys have access to Cole Realty Resource. That's really what I use to do the bigger farm pools. Like if you guys say, hey, I want to just cold call on a zip code, because it's pretty much unlimited. And one resource I'll share too, just for you guys, I can always search for phone numbers. Just shoot me an email if you want to target a specific property. On my end, I can dig into the mailing address. If it's a corporation, I can do a little bit more digging for you. But one resource I use that, like, let's say it's middle of the night and you want to search, it's called Cluster Maps. It's a free Google search. Anyone can use it. I get a lot of phone numbers off of that. Phone numbers, it's sometimes they're perfect, sometimes they're not. But I just like to share that because, you're not kind of pigeonholed to waiting on us. But where I'm more resourceful is I can dig into deeds and stuff like that. So I can find names and mailing addresses and do a lot of digging, or trustees. Sometimes we can find, the daughter and things like that. So I'll just put it in here how you spell it. You just look up Cluster Map. It's just a free Google search. You type in the address and then it will give you a homeowner, but you've got to have the, sometimes it's the previous owner if there's a recent sale. So it helps to have that profile first. And so, reach out to me if you want to get on Title Toolbox. We'll set up a one-on-one training. If you guys would like to come in and meet Alonzo and Michelle, talk about what your goals are for 2023. We're still in January, so I think we can still kind of, think about the bigger picture of the year.
Yeah.
What's your budget? What's your experience? What's your kind of idea of what you think your real estate journey is going to look like? And then the next thing I'll touch on it really quick is your Spear in your database. We have 150 ways. I think there should be some in the office, Ashley. It's just a bunch of questions of who do you know, who do your kids know, who does your family know, and it's a great way to build your database and like who can I reach out to, and sometimes maybe working through those questions might lead you to an area that you want to farm. So it's just another way to kind of get the wheels turning. I can share that PDF as well with you guys, and it's one thing I heard is don't be emotional when you're picking a farm. Just kind of look at as much facts as you can, facts being your budget, your ability to commit, your location. You're going to have to live with it. So what can I live with for, at least 6 months, because it's going to take about 6 months to see if you're getting any traction. I always get asked, does it work? Well, it works if you work it. I mean, we've had big agents dominating Fallbrook. They did mailers every month. But there's a lot else that goes into that. Referrals are always going to be your number one, I think. But it works if you work it and you commit to it.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of agents who do bi-monthly. Another thing too is if you don't have it in your budget to do a Corfac mailer, because I think the postcards, the jumbo size, are like 89 cents now they're up to. They do have a mini card, so keep that in mind. But I can do labels for you. So if you want to do a handwritten letter or a typed up letter, we can print the labels for you. So we can kind of cut your costs there where you're really just dealing with the postage. So just another resource.
So back to the Fallbrook thing, the example, we have an agent that does really well out there because he's farming to the grandpas and the grandmas. And they're going, hey, this 2 acres too big for me. This home is too big for me. So yeah, we're thinking of selling because they're probably going to either move in with family somewhere else, smaller, single family, but not as much land, and they don't want the maintenance. It's too much work for them. So yeah, demographically, you can farm people that are moving up in age and have to move into assisted living, have to, make some changes in their life. So there's a market out there. You just have to ask us as far as demographics and what you want to farm out there, And so because of the market and inventory so tight, I would recommend that you cast a bigger net. What I mean by that is work other areas. I know we have a lot of people that work Riverside, Temecula, and Murrieta Valley. They work it because you can still buy a house there for 600,000. So I know people that are commuting doing that, working Escondido, working Valley Center. You get a lot of people that are on the coast that want more privacy. Well, you can come inland about 25 minutes and move to Fallbrook, San Marcos, and have some nice land, and quiet and privacy. Just depends. So those are the things that I would look at. And then one of the last things I wanted to touch on was Ticor agent.
Yep, I'm gonna screen share real quick with you guys here. A little flyer. Here we go.
So there it is. Real quick, everybody. This is the best closing cost app, in my opinion, in the industry. It's gonna break you. It's gonna break the bank. It's $13 a year. That's it. But you can download it on 5 devices. And the thing that's cool about it is you could be at a party, you could be at a social event, you could actually give a net to a friend right on the spot saying, yeah, I could net you 800,000, no problem. I think we could sell it for that price. And here it is. Here's all your closing costs. Here are all your fees. You can do VA, FHA, conventional, short sales. You can do social media on it. I do a lot of LinkedIn. I do a lot of rent versus owning. So say if you're holding an open house, you can actually send over a potential client the benefits of owning versus renting, which gain nothing. But let me show you how this works. And you can do it right from your phone on that particular property, say that you're holding open house on. So it's got a lot of good information that is, in this time, this day and age where everybody wants their info right away, you can put that up in the client's phone immediately. And you can do it 24/7. You could be in Hawaii and send that over to a client. And then one of the last things I wanted to remind everybody, I know that the brand has their own buyer seller guide, but we have an electronic version if you ever need one. And it's got vesting, it's got everything on there. We'll share that with you just so you have it. So when you do get, say, out of area people saying, hey, I can walk you through the buying, selling process, or if they ask a question about vesting, I don't go into the vesting. They need to either talk to their accountant and figure out how they want to take property, what's the best way to hold property, community property, joint tenants, trust. There are some benefits on having it in a trust. So that's for a different discussion. But on the farming, I'd love to meet with you. We are probably 10 minutes, Ashley, from the office. So if anyone ever wants to come in, we could kind of give you a real estate physical and kind of go through what would work for you, because we want to hear from you. Everybody works differently.
Exactly.
So we want to make sure that what we give you is tailored to what you want to do and who you feel comfortable with and reaching out. And so this is a great business to be in. You can have income, unlimited income, and you can make as much money and just take off. And you just keep reinvesting, budgeting for more business. And I know that the brand has some great social media tools, but it's pretty much your mindset and how you're going to go out and get business. This is a very connect business. How am I going to connect with people? That's the bottom line. And as much as I like social media, I think it's great. but you got to connect with people. You've got to meet people. You've got to talk to your friends, because your friends, everybody knows somebody that's always interested in real estate. And Joanna mentioned that list that she could get you on how to touch your sphere. And I'm talking from the market to your cleaners,
Kids,
to your
doctors,
landscaper.
teachers, yeah.
Hey, I sold a house in the day to my sanitation guy. He came around, picked up the trash, he goes, hey, I want to buy a house. I go, I can sell you one, no problem. So I'm saying it's just who you connect with. And that's the thing, every day it's like, you got to make 5, 10 new connections every day. Talk to people every day, because that's part of your farming that you need to do. And we're always available. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. Phone call, text away, you'll get my information. And there are no ridiculous questions. If there's something, for instance, you can't get a hold of somebody, just call me. I've done this for a long time, and I can kind of walk you through some different scenarios and how it can help you gain more confidence and connect with people. So the theme to me is connect with people every day. And that's part of your farming. So drive the areas that you're interested in.
Yeah.
And this tool that we were talking about, Ticor Agent, is a great for sale by owner. I used to stop in front of the house and call the for sale by owner and say, hey, has anyone given you any closing costs? Chances are they haven't. I said, do you mind if you share an email? I'll send over, no obligation, your closing costs. Do you owe this much, Mr. Seller? Do you owe this? This app, this particular app, if you enter in the address on, say, a seller's net, it'll pull the loan. If it's a recent loan,
Yeah,
like
if it's available data, it'll
if
pull
it's
your
a recent
taxes.
loan,
Yeah.
say in the last 2 years, it'll pull up the loan on the property approximately. So you can verify that with the seller. And of course, they'll say, well, how'd you get, it's public information, sir. I can, that's what I do. This is my business. So this app is a must. This Ticor Agent, Joanna will send it over to you.
I see some of you guys have already downloaded. So yeah, just go into the app store. I think there's I don't know if it asks you when you sign up, if you can connect with us that way. If not, just let us know, then we'll connect you to our admin side. That way we can, it just allows us access to your account if you need help branding and stuff like that.
And the last thing I want to say is this, and I believe in Ashley and Sari and the company. Positive attitude is going to make a difference. So keep your mind sharp, have a good attitude, and surround yourself with the right people. Surround yourself with people that are going to uplift you and encourage you and help you be part of your team so you can grow your business. And that's what we value. Michelle, Joanna, myself, we really value in helping you grow your business and trying to find solutions for you to make more contacts and connect with people. And that's all we've got today.
Any questions? We'll open it up.
All right.
Hopefully-
Well,
Yep.
if there's no questions, so check the chat, take a screenshot or copy and paste that. That has Joanna's contact information. Like they said, their office is just down the street. So schedule a Zoom, schedule it in person, especially for agents if you're like new to the business, a year or less. I think this would be a great tool and a great resource for you. And you have people who are ready, willing, able, and eager to help you. So really lean into this resource. Joanna and Alonzo, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your time with us.
we-
Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you
Yeah,
for having us.
there's no questions, then that's a wrap for the day.
And congratulations, everyone, on getting your license. And I know, listen, I realize how hard it can be, but it can be extremely rewarding. And it's all about helping your clients, helping your friends, and connecting. So go out and connect with people today.
All right. Thanks, you
All right.
guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Great
Got
day.
it.
All right, bye.
Bye. I know Christian.